Hello, all my crafty, creative, wonderful friends. I'm so glad that you're joining me to make alcohol ink marbled ornaments. I know this video has been done before, but I wanted to put my spin on it and make another one for you so that hopefully any questions you have are answered. And if you haven't seen this technique done before, hopefully you'll watch my video to the end so that you know how to create your own alcohol ink marbled ornaments. They really are gorgeous when they're done. So the first thing you want to do is just take a glass ornament and some white craft paint and squeeze the craft paint down the side of the ornament so that the craft paint slides down the inside of the ornament and makes a smooth coat on the inside. It's really easy to do. I just take the ornament and roll it around in my fingers until I get all of the little parts covered, and it doesn't take very long. Now, I don't shake the ornament at this point because I don't want air bubbles to be created in my paint. Air bubbles are a huge pain if they happen inside the ornament, and I still haven't figured out a good way to get rid of them yet. So I have found that just by taking the ornament and rolling it around for a couple of minutes, all of the spaces get covered. It's a very easy process, and it's kind of therapeutic to watch the paint just slide around on the inside of the ornament. And as you can see, it looks like we did a pretty good job, and that only took about a minute and a half. So it really doesn't take very long. Next, you're going to want to take your cup and flip it upside down and flip your ornament upside down and let it drain into the cup. Now, another idea is, depending on the neck size of your ornament, is to let it drain back into the paint container so that you don't waste any of the paint. Now, here are the necessities for this technique. You need alcohol inks. You're going to need some ornaments. Here I've done 2 covered in white and 1 clear. You'll need the pouncer and the felts for the pouncer, and you'll need some foil, which is totally optional, but I'll show you what to do with the foil in a few minutes. So I just take these alcohol inks, and I think we have turquoise, and I think that's stream. I could be wrong. That's stream, I guess. And I think that's gold. And I'm just going to take the alcohol inks and apply them to my felt. Now, the reason these are square felts instead of the round is because I just happen to have a piece of felt, and rather than opening my container of round felt pieces, I just cut up the felt that I had and used that. It's the same thing as the felt pieces. It was just something I had laying around, so it was easier for me to do it this way. So I'm applying quite a bit of ink to my felt pad because you are going to cover a pretty substantial surface. So you want to be quite generous with the amount of ink that you apply so that you don't run out mid-ornament. And it really doesn't matter in this technique whether you use glass ornaments or plastic ornaments. I found that this technique works equally well on either ornament, so feel free to experiment. I believe the ornament I'm working on right now is a glass ornament, and the other ornament that I have for you in just a minute is plastic, so you can see that there's really not any variation. And all I'm doing is taking my pouncer. I forgot the name of the applicator, but I'm just taking that and using my felt pad, applying the alcohol inks to the outside of my ornament. Now, what you can't see really is that right here, I'm blowing on it to kind of dry it a little bit so that I can put my finger on it and continue decorating the outside of the ornament. It just makes it dry a little bit faster if you blow on it. You don't have to. You can. Totally up to you. It's one of those projects that there's a lot of leeway and forgiveness in this project. You really cannot go wrong. You really cannot mess this up. Even if you've never worked with alcohol inks before, it's incredibly easy, and you can see that all I'm doing is, after I've randomly placed my alcohol inks on the felt pad, I'm just randomly covering the outside of my ornament. There's no pattern, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just laying the inks down. This technique is beautiful once it's finished, and it's so easy for beginners or advanced alcohol ink users alike. You don't, even if you've never picked up a bottle of alcohol ink before, you could easily accomplish this and make a very beautiful ornament in just a few minutes. So I'm just making sure that the whole ornament is covered, and I'm blowing on it. I know that you can't see that part, but I've been blowing on it here off and on just to try to dry some of the alcohol inks a little bit in between adding coats. Makes it a little bit easier when the alcohol inks are dry to handle the ornament. Otherwise you wind up with fingerprints in your inks, and you don't want that. I'm sorry that my nose is plugged up and I sound a little goofy. I don't know if it's allergies or what it is, but my nose has been really stopped up for the last couple of days. So there, you can see that I did this. I didn't even use any blending solution. It was just straight alcohol inks, just placed on my Dauber or Applicator, whatever you want to call that handled piece of equipment, and my felt pad. And that's really all you need. Once the paint, I should have mentioned that the paint inside of the ornament had dried for about 3 days. People say that it'll dry overnight. That is not at all what I have found to be true. So I let mine dry for about 3 days, and it got nice and dry. And I also couldn't fit my finger inside the ornament like some other videos that I've seen. They must just have either tiny, tiny hands, or I have gigantor hands that don't fit in anything. Then again, I'm a tall person, so I'd look pretty funny if I had teeny, minuscule hands, but I couldn't get any of my fingers to fit inside the ornament, so holding it on the outside works just as well. Just blow on it a little bit to dry the alcohol ink so you don't leave fingerprints. So now we're going to change out the felt piece because we finished the first ornament. And you can see with the hook and loop fastener, it's so easy to change your felt pieces. And there I was trying to show you the other alcohol ink colors that I'm using, but obviously I need to get a little better on holding those up for the camera because you can't tell where they are. Sorry about that. I'll work on that for my next video. So this is a plastic ornament, and I did the same thing. I just covered the inside of the ornament with white paint and let it dry. This also got the 3-day drying treatment that the other one got. And you know, if you want to, you can always pop them in the oven. I've popped mine in my oven at 175 degrees only because that's the lowest that my oven will go. So I've popped them in there at 175 degrees for a couple of hours, and they dry very quickly. So you don't have to wait for several days if you're in a hurry. So I'm just again applying a generous amount of ink to my felt pad to make sure that I can cover the entire ornament. It's just a pain not to put enough alcohol ink on your felt pad and then run out halfway through and have to redo it. It's not a big deal if that happens, but that's why I want to make sure that my alcohol ink saturates my little felt pad. And I'm just randomly placing the alcohol inks on my ornament with my Dauber or Applicator tool, or I'm just going to call it a Dauber. You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. So just using my Dauber, I'm randomly applying the alcohol inks to that little light bulb shaped ornament. And you can see we get quite a different look by using different inks. This one I have some yellow and some pink, and still used some of the turquoise, and it looks completely different than that first ornament that we did. But I just apply it, no pattern. I'm not worried about making sure that it's even all over. I just want to get the whole ornament covered. The inks will swirl together and make their own pattern. Here I am blowing on it again so I can place my finger at the top of it and hold it in a different way. But the alcohol inks will continue to swirl together and make their own pattern, so you don't have a lot of control over exactly where the inks are going to go anyway. So just place them on there and let them run together, and that's part of the beauty of this technique. It's important to make sure that you get the neck of the bottle covered up to where the ornament top is going to fit on the top of the ornament. You don't want to leave any spaces so that you see the white in between where you applied the alcohol ink and where the alcohol or the ornament topper is going to come down. You want to make sure that you get close enough to the neck of the bottle or up onto the neck of the bottle so that it meets where the ornament hanger is going to go. Now here I've used my foil and I'm wrapping that around my ornament. And a lot of times alcohol inks will remain a little tacky when you're done, so the foil will stick to those tacky parts and you'll wind up with some beautiful foil lines, almost like veining. But if you can understand me with my stopped up nose. But of course it didn't work putting that in front of the camera. I don't know why, because it worked on every other ornament I tried this on. But of course it didn't work when I whipped out my camera. So instead I wound up with more muted colors, which were still beautiful, and I'm still glad that I tried to use the foil. But a lot of times the foil will grab these little veins of tacky alcohol ink, and you'll wind up with some lovely veining in there that you can't get with any other technique. So I'm just showing you the steps that you would take to do that, and hopefully yours works on your ornament a little bit better than mine did. You can tell that I keep applying the ink, trying to get that stickiness to occur. And I don't know, it may have been because it was a plastic ornament, now that I think about it. That may have been the problem, but I'm not sure. It should have worked whether it was a glass ornament or a plastic ornament. But you can tell none of the foil stuck to the ornament while I did this. But I still wound up with a pretty muted ornament, and I'm just going to leave it like this and not worry about redoing it with the dauber. It's a pretty technique. It's just more muted colors, and I wound up leaving it like it is. It's definitely a different look than the first ornament. Now, I just wanted to show you what happens if you don't cover the inside of the ornament with white craft paint. If you just elect to leave that step out and leave them blank on the inside or leave them plain on the inside, you can still get some very beautiful effects. So here I'm showing you how to apply the alcohol inks again, and I'm making sure that I have quite a bit of alcohol ink on my felt pad. It isn't the typical one little drop and that's it. I've put, I don't know, several drops in each little drop that you can see that I'm adding. There are several drops from the bottle in each of those areas. So I remove the top and I just set it aside. It doesn't require any prep. You just take your dauber, your applicator, and start adding it to the outside of your ornament. It's the same technique whether you have white craft paint on the inside of the ornament or you elected to leave it plain. You just get a very translucent look. As you can tell from the ornament I'm doing, if you look at that compared to the turquoise ornament we did, it's such a different look. But it truly is just as beautiful. And some of these ornaments that I've left blank, I wound up filling with that fake snow, that iridescent snow that when you open the container, it comes in a plastic bag, and when you open that plastic bag, it seems like it goes absolutely everywhere. That kind of snow. And I added some of that to some of my ornaments that I left plain and didn't cover with the white paint, so you could see the fake snow on the inside of the ornament behind the alcohol inks, and it was just beautiful. It really wound up being a cool effect. So I encourage you to try filling the insides of these ornaments. If you don't fill them with the white craft paint, I encourage you to try adding some different things to the insides of the ornaments, because you will be able to see what's inside of the ornament. Or leave them plain. Leaving them just like this is absolutely stunning as well, especially when you get the lights from your Christmas tree behind them. It sets off such a beautiful look. I can't even begin to tell you how cool it looks on your tree when the lights sparkle behind these translucent alcohol ink stained ornaments. It really is pretty. So here I'm going to try the foil technique again. And this is a glass ornament this time. but you have to get the foil on at that one particular spot where it's a little bit tacky. It's like the sweet spot. And if you wait too long, then it dries too much and it doesn't work. And if you don't wait long enough, then you can see I didn't wait long enough and it just stains the inside of your foil. No foil comes off on the ornament, which was kind of a bummer. It didn't work either time for me to show you in this video, of course, but it does work, I promise. I've done it to a whole bunch of ornaments, and it was working really well on the ornaments I did before I did this video. I had made probably 20 ornaments before this, and it worked on every ornament I tried it on before I made this video. So I apologize for not being able to show you how it looks once that's done, but at least I showed you the technique so you understand how to do it. Hopefully you'll have more luck when you're trying to do it at home rather than when I'm trying to do it for you on video. It's really depressing when you're trying to show someone a technique on video and you get all pumped because you finally got the technique to work and you're excited to show everybody, and then you go to do it on video and it doesn't work. It's kind of a letdown. So I apologize for not being able to show that to you, but I do promise that it works. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I hope that you like my video and you subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays!